Here we go. We're live. This is so exciting. Hi, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. And we are here to talk about all the stuff we've been watching, and particularly some HBO Max. It's going to be fun. And I'm from Rick Schwagner. Ryan's here. Ryan, thank you so much for being here and for me being so late. I apologize.
Oh, well, Rachel's going through a bit of a Ross and Rachel style relationship with the Sundance Film Festival, so I'm being a little forgiving of that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, they have hurt my heart, and but I'm still holding out now that we actually started watching the movies. That we've had so far. I've watched 6.5 films.
Dang.
Yeah, yeah. And so yeah, that's been pretty fun. So far, the highlight has been a movie called Emergency, which was a um, drama slash political satire slash comedy, I guess you might say. I don't know. It was kind of similar into like slightly allegorical, um, but I enjoyed it. It was good. And then there was also a pretty good documentary about Princess Diana that was called The Princess, and it was put together by only using clips from media coverage and covered her life from the engagement all the way to her passing. That was kind of an interesting approach.
Kind of seems to be a trend in film right now with like Apollo 18
Mm-hmm.
and other things. You're creating biopics just with the news and home videos of
Yeah.
just people. That's why I kind of scoff at when old folks say like, "Oh, you kids, you film everything these days." Well, yeah, so did you. If
Yeah, right.
Apollo 18
That's a
and
good point.
Summer of Soul is proof of anything.
That's true. That's a very good point. um,
Our
yeah,
cameras may look like this, but we've always been filming things.
yeah, and it's an interesting thing because I think part of the reason why they didn't nominate Apollo 18 for the best documentary is because it shot no original footage. And I can kind of
It,
see it almost feels like does it need an editing award as opposed to a film award, but then again, like who's to say what makes a documentary and what doesn't make a documentary? Does it have to have filmed new
I mean,
footage?
if you want to get technical about it, it's technically all original footage. Like it's original in terms of no director of photography shot this. It was just people like you and me just shooting it, and they had no idea it was going to be a movie. Like one of my favorite kind of movies like this is a forgotten war movie called They Shall Not Grow Old. It was a
Oh yeah.
passion project from Peter Jackson. He basically oversaw the whole thing. He took old World War One footage and brought it up to the modern day and colorized it. But he did an excellent job. He added sounds from like cannons, and he basically made you feel like you were actually in there with these soldiers. It's beautiful. I actually saw it on the day I graduated college, which was rather unique, but there it is. It's phenomenal. So
Mm.
it seemed a
Yeah.
bit dubious to me how why the Academy would be like it's no original footage when it's technically all original footage, but I don't really care that much about the Oscars anyway, so it's kind of like asking the tides not to come in.
Hmm. Yeah. And especially the documentary branch is ridiculous, is nonsense. But I'm just waiting for them to not nominate Summer of Soul or Flea this year.
How do you not nominate Won't You Be My Neighbor? Is like
Yeah. No, they're absurd. They didn't nominate Dick Johnson is Dead last year. They did not nominate Hoop Dreams in the 90s. Pretty much anything that has anything interesting or creative or new, they don't nominate in favor of some like talking heads. Like they didn't nominate a movie I loved called Step or another movie I loved called Maiden. They were both great documentaries. Neither of those the year before. So I think it was instead of Won't You Be My Neighbor, the like Olympics drugs documentary ended up getting nominated. I'm like, oh, come on. Nobody in their right mind thinks that's better than my
Unless you're making a documentary about Kurt Angle winning a gold medal in freestyle wrestling with a broken friggin' neck, like I just don't care about
yeah,
about
yeah.
Olympic documentaries.
Right. I mean, it's probably somewhat interesting, but it doesn't do anything interesting. Does it do anything new? No. They just like the most bland movies. So it's ridiculous. But anyway, we did get a comment. Please, we have the chat room open. We've got the super chat if you want. And it's Shannon Sales. She says, "Why are the international film lists always so bad? I've seen so many of the shortlisted films. They are mediocre at best." Well, that's actually technically not the Academy's fault because it's up to each individual country to select what they want to choose as their film. So, for instance, I know a lot of people wanted. I think that Titanic. I don't think it was actually nominated. I think the French picked something else, or I could be wrong. But it's up to the individual country to pick what they want to submit, and so sometimes that can, lead to seeming snubs. When in that case, it's not actually the Academy's fault. So, but
Yeah,
yeah,
and
I know they do
Fran-
sometimes end up being terrible.
I believe it was either Canada or France, but they nominated Incendies when it won, so they get some things right sometime.
Yeah, yeah. Well, how have you been doing?
Well, on the YouTube side of things, it's been going really well. I'm happy to announce that I'm officially a banana. Actually, I'm
Yeah,
banana approved by the Banana Meter.
yeah,
I'm one of their critics now, along with guys like Ren Geekness and Movie Emporium and a bunch of others. So that's going to be a lot of fun to see what happens there. Just hit 195 subscribers. I'm 5 away from 200. So it's like I can, I can see it. It's like taunting me, but I'm going to get there. Life in the Movies podcast has been going excellent. Jacob and I are having so much fun doing it, and so I can't complain. It's been a great, it's been great fun so far.
yeah. I listened to one of yours. I think when you were talking best and worst of the year. It's the one I
Yeah,
listened to.
that was
Yeah,
episode 2.
yeah, that was good. It was very good. Yeah. I think I'm the only person in the world that saw some things good about Dear Evan Hansen. It was definitely flawed. But I think maybe I'm just so attached to the musical, and maybe that's why.
I think we
But
should change the subject before I fly off the rails about that awful movie.
yes. So, uh, yeah, I'm glad that y'all are having fun, and you got a nice logo from my friend
Hmm.
Joan. So that's cool.
Yeah, shout out to Joan. She did an excellent job.
Yeah, she's super talented. She did all my logos as well for Rachel's reviews, my avatar and everything, which is really fun. And yeah, so things are going pretty good. Like I said, super busy with Sundance and just kind of recovering from the Christmas season. That's been intense. But and the award season because that was hard to have to try to we it's interesting that both of the critics groups that I'm a part of I'm part of three. Two of them have announced their winners, and both of them picked The Power of the Dog as the winner, as the best picture of last year. So I thought that was interesting. It's not one of my favorites, but I didn't hate it or anything. So there you go. I mean, if it was up to me, Tick Tick Boom would have won. But have you gotten to see Tick Tick Boom yet?
No, not yet. I've been meaning to.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and we had a lot of fun this last week with my friends Lauren, Nicole, and Rachel McMillan. we did a whole podcast for Female Film Critics panel just talking about Tick Tick Boom. So that was really fun. That's like the internet at its best, and it's just like you and your friends just like geeking out about something you love.
If only it were always that way.
Yeah, right. Well, I guess we should talk about HBO Max. And
Let's
I don't
dive
know.
in.
I don't know if you agree, but I think there's an argument to be made that definitely HBO Max is now the second best, if not first best,
What
of
would
the
what
streaming
would be
services.
what would be first if not
I
second?
think Netflix is going to be first. It has
Okay,
so many. I mean, definitely if you're counting shows as opposed to movies. If I was going just movies, then I probably would pick HBO Max.
yeah.
But they have so many great shows on Netflix that it's hard to not put that one first, because Disney Plus, as we talked about previously, what is going on with them right
They've
now?
been doing Book of Boba Fett, which I've been enjoying, and I seem to
Yeah,
be in the minority on that one.
I
But
haven't seen it yet.
but yeah, I do agree they've been kind of threadbare as of late.
Yeah, they only have. I mean, now I understand why they made Turning Red Disney Plus exclusive, because they have the Ice Age show and World According to Jeff Goldblum and Turning Red.
That's it.
That's it. Which is crazy. Like I was saying talking to one of my friends, and I'm like, how can Hallmark manage to make 42 Christmas movies in Disney Plus? Not like anything. What? How's that possible?
Hallmark is kind of like Roger Corman. Like Roger Corman was like the king of making movies under budget and on time. So
Yeah,
he
that's
can make
true.
like 3 movies in one day if he really wanted to.
That's true. But I mean, that used to be kind of the Disney Channel thing. But they're not doing any of that. So it's really pretty crazy. Anyway, but yeah, HBO Max has been very good. They've had continual new programming, new movies, new shows, even something like And Just Like That, which I've been recapping over on Hallmarkies podcast with my friend Jax. It's not very good, but it's been fun to talk about.
More fun to talk about than actually watch.
Yes. Which is not always the case. I have to say that I did not enjoy podcasting about the Harry Potter movies. There's just something about those movies. I thought I was going to, because I really enjoyed doing Star Wars. I really enjoyed doing Star Trek. And then this was a couple years ago. I thought, oh, I'm going to really enjoy. This was before the first Fantastic Beasts movie. It was like we were going to lead up to it, covering all of the Harry Potter movies. And I don't know, it's just something about those movies when put under a magnifying glass and really like analyzed and criticized, it just kind of ruined them for me. And that's the only thing like that. Even like talking about the Star Wars prequels, like, I don't know, I enjoyed, or the bad Star Trek movies, I enjoyed talking about those more. And there was just something about Harry Potter that, I don't know, I just realized, I'm like, I just like having fun with Harry Potter. I don't want to analyze it.
Yeah, the Star Wars prequels are amazingly fun to talk about. They started they started their own subreddit, our prequel memes.
Yeah. And I think part of it is that the Harry Potter books, up until like probably the last two maybe, are super repetitive. They basically have the same kind of theme, and you have like a mystery that Harry's solving throughout the course of the story, and you get little clues, and so once you sort of know the mystery, it's just not as fun. I don't think, as with that first time when you're first reading it, when you're first watching it. And at least for me, that's what I found. And so, and then I hate the Fantastic Beasts ones. Those were terrible, but especially the second one.
Oh, we're getting a third. God help
Oh my
us.
gosh, kill me now. Um, but all right, well, let's dive in. Let's talk about HBO Max, our hidden gems. If you have any comments, please put them in the chat room. I'll go first. So my first pick is one that I actually just wrote a review on. It was a movie I was asked to take a look at, and I did. And sometimes I end up liking those, sometimes I don't. And this one I actually ended up enjoying. It's called Single Mother by Choice, and it's really cool. So basically, um, the director and his wife, they were pregnant. They were going to have a baby, so they decided, well, let's make a movie based around this this pregnancy. And then they weren't planning on kind of involving COVID, but then obviously COVID happened, and so then the whole movie kind of changed. And it's called Single Mother by Choice, and it's directed by Dan Levy Dagerman, and it stars Selena Ringel. So she's like really pregnant in the movie, but the fictional part is that in the movie she is a single mother by choice, which means that she went to a sperm bank and decided to become pregnant. And then obviously then all of COVID happens, and I just thought it was really well done, and I thought it had a pretty authentic feel to it. It really captured the COVID moment, and a lot of the things about the fears, the anxieties, the idiosyncrasies, the strange moments. I enjoyed it. I thought they did a good job. It's obviously super low budget, but yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, when it comes to like things referencing COVID, like in songs or like movies and stuff, I don't know. I've never really been a fan of it. I guess it's just been so omnipresent for like a year and a half that it's just whenever I go into something to escape and it references, I'm just like, can we talk about something else now, please?
I think I was like that at first, but now that it's been 2 years, I kind of feel a need to like process it through film, you
That's
know,
fair.
and like and see it portrayed. And I think this was a pretty well done version of that. Like it was like it had humor in it. It I thought it was pretty authentic. And I can see how it would be triggering for some and wouldn't be for everybody, but I feel like I'm at the point where I kind of need to process this all. So, but yeah, and I mean, I think it was cool. It's just like a cool experiment that they, that there's like her real pregnancy. They crafted a story around it. They made a little movie. Just like the them and their friends. I always like movies like that. Well, not always, but I can like movies like that. It kind of has a bit of a Sundance feel to it. The old spirit of Sundance when they weren't all made by Amazon. When they were really made out of the back of a person's car, in this case in her apartment. But and you do get in this movie Christy Carlson Romano, if you're a fan of hers from Disney Channel days. She has a little part that's kind of fun. So but yeah, it's not like a masterpiece or anything, but I enjoyed it. What about you? What's your first choice?
So my first choice, and well, here's the hard left for the stream, going from Single Mother by Choice to a movie from 2018. It's a war movie, and it's called 12 Strong. This was the story of the first major attack against Al Qaeda, like directly after 9/11. It's like a month and a half afterwards. It stars Chris Hemsworth, and it tells the story of this group of soldiers who are tasked to basically just strike back, if you will. And I think this movie is handled, like in terms of subject matter, I think it's handled pretty well because 9/11 is a pretty touchy subject, but I think they handle it pretty well, and it's not like too preachy. It's actually it's done in a matter-of-fact way, and it focuses more on the characters and the story more than the agenda. I liked that. I like the spirit of that. Chris Hemsworth is good in pretty much anything he's in. The action is pretty well done. I don't know. I just think that this fell under the radar, and I've always kind of dug it. I remember seeing it with my dad, and we both really liked it. So I I thought it was
Yeah.
very overlooked.
I remember hearing about it, and I think I even have it in my Voodoo. I think I bought it for some reason. I'm pretty sure, um, or I got it somehow. But I haven't watched it yet. But I remember hearing that it was underrated. That it was pretty good film. Yeah, yeah. I'm not sometimes not the biggest war fan, but if it's done well, I'll enjoy it. So
Yeah.
yeah, cool. All right. Well, my next pick, I don't know if it's really a hidden gem. I feel like it is, but it did last 9 seasons, so some might quarrel. Mine is The Middle, and I loved this show, The Middle. I thought it was so funny, and I especially think Sue Heck is one of the best characters that's ever been on in a sitcom. She is such a great character. Eden Shear was really funny, and in her portrayal of Sue. And of course, you've got Patricia Heaton as the mom, and she's like such a great mom. Uh, and, uh, and she's a perfect mom. And I don't know, I just love this show. I think it's so funny. And I lived in Indiana on my mission. So, I lived in the middle. And so a lot of the little jokes and the little kind of things, like when they're at Aldi's or, these kinds of things, is Indiana Hoosier stuff. I'll catch that. Um, but I really think that Patricia Heaton and Neil Flynn have really good chemistry as the mom and dad. They're great together. And I just love the show. I think it's so funny. It has so many great side characters that have come in and out over the seasons. It had a long run, but it was never the kind of show that got like Emmy awards or a lot of praise. I personally liked it much better than Modern Family, but Modern Family was the one that got all the love. And but yeah, somehow it managed to last 9 seasons, so that's pretty good. But still feel like it was underrated.
Yeah, I've actually seen more than a few episodes of The Middle, and I quite enjoyed it as well. I haven't seen everything about it, but I've seen there's this one, I believe, Rachel, maybe you'll remember this one, where it's Mother's Day versus Father's Day.
Uh-huh.
How Father's Day, the dad gets everything and the mom kind of gets the shaft. I
Yeah,
don't know if you remember.
I feel like I remember that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that was particularly funny. And then there was one where I believe it had something to do with the family needing to cut costs, and so they get rid of their TV, and the kids just completely lose their rag about it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I really loved Atticus Shaffer as Brick, the youngest. He was really cute. I thought he was
I
good.
just really feel sorry for the kid. He's literally named Brick. Like like what was Block taken?
Yeah, yeah.
Was
Yeah.
Gravel already taken by someone else?
Yeah. And I don't know, I just think it's very well written, and especially I think Sue Heck is my favorite. She was just great. I even loved her sweaters, and I don't know, she looked like she came out of a Lisa Frank store. um, she was great. So yeah, I feel like it's a shame we haven't seen Eden Sheeran more. And in fact, she would have been perfect in this recent in Licorice Pizza. She looks, I think, so much like the girl in Licorice Pizza, Lena Haim. And they should have gotten Eden Shear. But Eden Shear, I mean, she's actually has a great a vocal career, doing Star in the Forces of Evil, doing Star, and some other voices. So she's very talented. So all right, well, what is your next pick?
So my next choice is from 2010, and It's scratching my sci-fi itch. This is called The Book of Eli. This starred Denzel Washington, Gary Oldman, and Mila Kunis, and this tells the story of a man named Eli who carries a book. It's never really said. It's said at the end, but I won't spoil it here. It's never said what the book is, but all that is known is that it's pretty important. And so basically, Eli is taking it on a pilgrimage across what was known as America. And Gary Oldman, who's kind of like Immortan Joe, but less crazy, wants the book. And so it's a mad chase across the desert. It's not a Mad Max Fury Road clone, I promise. It's actually a lot more introspective than that. And I think that's kind of what I like about it. There is definitely some action. The action is handled pretty well, but I just like how kind of character driven it feels. I mean, Denzel Washington's in here. We all know who he is. He's great. Gary Oldman, we all know who he is. He's good most of the time. He's had some duds in the past. We all know that. Mila Kunis is good here too. Like I said, I like the action here. I like the cinematography. It kind of feels, it kind of gives off like a Minority Report kind of thing, where it feels like a bleached out kind of look, but it looks unique, and I just really dug that. Mm-hmm. This was directed by the Hughes brothers, and I think they did a pretty good job here.
Yeah, I've heard of this movie. I have not seen it. So it's kind of, it has like a little bit sort of, it's like a dystopian, like Mad Max kind of vibe.
Mm-hmm. It's not a Mad Max clone. It is different. Mm-hmm. It's different enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, nothing could really be Mad Max, except for Mad Max, at least Fury Road. But yeah, I've heard of it. I've never seen it. But you know, Denzel Washington is usually in good movies, pretty good movies.
Yeah, especially I've just recently watched Tragedy of Macbeth, and I'm just sitting there like, this guy Denzel, he's just good in anything that he's in. You put him in comedy, drama, like literally, you could put him in like an Adam Sandler movie, and he would be the best part of it.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And yeah, Tragedy of Macbeth was really good. I mean, I'm not an expert on the play or anything, but I felt like they covered all the bases of the main parts of the play, and yeah, I mean, the cinematography was so cool.
Yeah, Denzel is actually, he did a commencement ceremony at a university, and the speech is on YouTube, but it has a quote that I really love where he says, if you hang around the barbershop long enough, sooner or later you're going to get a haircut. And basically analogizing that if you're impatient with your life, if you feel like your life is going nowhere, just stick it out. You will catch a break eventually.
Yeah.
I like that. I like the spirit of that.
Yeah, it's true. Every overnight sensation on Broadway is 10 years in the making. It's kind of the same thing that, you know, you think, oh, this person just blew up overnight. No, they've been working at it for like,
Samuel L. Jackson was in his 40s when he first got cast in movies, and he's like one of the biggest actors going. He had like hundreds of credits not every year, but to his repertoire.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's true. Well, my next pick is one of the hidden gems from animation last year. It's Ron's Gone Wrong, and I admit I might have a little bit of a positive feeling about this movie because I saw it when I was at Animation is Film, and I went to the Grove, which I'd heard long talked about the Grove, and I saw it at the AMC at the Grove, and which is a really really nice theater, and so that was just fun and enjoyable, but I thought it was cute. I particularly liked the design of Ron. I thought, I was like, I want one of those. Those look really cool. And I mean, I don't want the rehabbed one at the end. I want the original one. I just thought they looked really cool, and I thought it had some nice humor in it. His family, this Croatian family, was pretty funny, I thought. Yeah, I mean, it did feel somewhat derivative of Big Hero 6 and even Mitchell's and the Machines this year, but I still overall enjoyed it, and I think it was a pretty strong first film for Locksmith Animation. I'll be curious to see what they do next.
Yeah, that's kind of why I didn't see it. I saw the trailer and I thought to myself, this is Big Hero 6. I mean, why did, but but your taste in animation is pretty solid, so I will definitely be giving this a chance.
Yeah, it's definitely derivative. That is true, but I still enjoyed it. But what about you? What's your next?
So sticking to the animation route, and honestly, this choice is kind of perfect timing because with the recent announcement that Aardman is going ahead with a new Wallace and Gromit movie and a new Chicken Run movie, I chose an Aardman movie and I chose Early Man. Uh, Somehow, like it feels like I'm the only one who like really loved this movie. My dad and I went to see it. We both love Wallace and Gromit with all of our hearts, and we'll follow anything that Aardman does. And so when this movie was announced, it was like, we're going to see it. And we laughed our heads off and we loved it. Turns out nobody went to see it, which is very sad. But the movie it basically is about early man. It's a very British movie. It basically tells the caveman's interpretation of creating soccer. My Amer- my American self was kind of lost on some of the terminology, but I got it enough to where I could figure it out. But this movie is so much fun. It's got Aardman's sense of humor, the beautiful claymation. The voice cast is really good. Eddie Redmayne's in this. Uh, it's Aardman doing their thing, and it's always just so much fun to watch. I'm so glad that Netflix and them have a relationship because Aardman at times feels like an endangered species because it feels like whenever their movies go into theaters, they completely bomb, and yet they're some of my favorite movies of the year. It's kind of sad, but everyone I speak to about like say Wallace and Gromit or Chicken Run or even Flushed Away, people absolutely love them. So I'm just glad that Netflix and them have decided to break bread. At least Aardman will be getting their wares in front of potentially millions of viewers or at least subscribers.
Yeah, I agree. I'm so happy about the collaboration between Netflix and Aardman, especially this year with Robin and Shaun the Sheep, The Flight Before Christmas. The Christmas shorts were so cute. I loved them. And I highly recommend them. So fun. And yeah, I mean, I have to say, I have a special fondness for Early Man because I did get to interview Nick Park, who is the director and creator of Wallace and
Ooh,
Gromit, when because of the movie, and I also got to, which was one of career highlights for me. That was amazing.
was he
And
cool?
then, oh, so cool, so funny, so great. And then I also got to interview the one of the animation directors named Merlin Crossingham, which like cool name department, I think, right?
Named after Merlin. I mean,
Yeah,
come on.
Merlin Crossingham. He was great too. But I do have to admit that I did think the movie was kind of boring. I don't know. I just didn't really get the humor because I guess I just don't know soccer at all. And I don't know. I think a lot of the humor was kind of lost on me. But it didn't, I mean, you can't hate an Aardman film, but because it's just so great to watch. But just as far as the script, I didn't love the script on this one. But you know, you're every movie can't be Wallace and Gromit. So what are you gonna do? So I can see definitely why you called it a hidden gem for sure. Um all right. Well, my next pick is a documentary. It's called Beanie Mania. And if And anyway, so it's called Mania. And if you were a child of the 90s, you knew about Beanie Babies. And I'm a child of the 80s, but I was a teenager in the 90s. And basically this kind of goes over the crazy run that Beanie Babies had and why there became this sort of secondary market that was just mania or whatever. And I like these kind of documentaries, sort of exploring a moment in time. And it's this is not as good as like the LuLaRoe documentary in on Amazon. That was so good. But this or something like McMillions, which I love so much. But it's still entertaining, like just to see how crazy people got and like what were they doing? Like people being offered hundreds of thousands of dollars for these on occasion and not selling, and just it's just the delusion of crowds, the mad the things is just fascinating to me. So if you like those kind of, I don't think this was very long. Um, let me see, 80 minutes. So if you like these kind of things, then you'll enjoy it. So did
Yeah,
you ever have a Beanie Baby?
I think they were a little before my time. I did have a stuffed tiger, which I got because of my love for the Calvin and Hobbes comic strip. My dad got that for me,
Oh yeah,
and I was an original, and I named it Hobbes.
cute. Yeah, they for a while they had these Beanie Baby McDonald's, these little babies, and people went crazy. They just showed them, and they had like piles of hamburgers, piles of Happy Meals, yeah, and everything.
So kind of like the Rick and Morty Szechuan sauce
Yeah,
situation.
yeah. So anyway, I think that kind of stuff's interesting. So what do you have next?
So my next choice, here's hard left number 3, going from lighthearted documentary about Beanie Babies to a TV movie about a former U.S. president, Lyndon B. Johnson. I'm recommending All the Way. This starred Bryan Cranston, I believe the late Chadwick Boseman as Martin Luther King Jr. I'm probably dead wrong on that. Or
Oh, I think it's Anthony Mackie.
that's the one. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, y'all, about that. I was thinking it's got to be Chadwick, right? But no, it was Anthony Mackie. But Anthony Mackie's really good in the movie.
Yeah.
I will say that. But All the Way covers Lyndon B. Johnson's first year as president, and pretty much all that entails. And it took place after the JFK assassination, basically in the mid '60s, which, oh boy, it was like people complain about times nowadays, but just go back to the mid '60s and spend a couple days there, because oh boy, like the civil unrest was wild back then. I tell you
Yeah.
what, and Bryan Cranston, I can't praise enough. Like that man, like Breaking Bad, like saved this man's career. Like he was Hal and Malcolm in the Middle, and I love him in that, and he's great there. But it was like he could not only be really funny, but he could also be really serious. And he plays LBJ like almost to a T. I've actually seen interviews with the original LBJ, and I've seen Cranston in this movie, and Cranston did a very admirable job of being LBJ pretty much. And you kind of see, because I don't really get involved in politics. I think it's just a waste of time, but I understand that no matter what side of the aisle you fall on, politics can be kind of hard. Like if you want to get something done, you got to finagle and you got to work with a lot of people. One of the main threads of this movie is LBJ having to work with the Dixiecrats, and how they pretty much just shoot everything related to civil rights of his just down hard. So LBJ's got to like compromise and work with these people and that people. So whenever I see people online be like, well, why can't we just sweep them all out and put new people in? It's like, it's not that simple.
Mm-hmm.
So even though I think it's a waste of time, I am wise enough to recognize that it's not as easy as we armchair quarterbacks make it out to be. But the point I'm trying to get at is that this movie did a really good job of kind of humanizing LBJ and showing that he was up against a lot of crap, and he did as admirable a job as we could probably ask of him. That's
yes. I think you're absolutely right about politics, and I think that was by design from the founders. I think they wanted to make it hard to get anything done. I think we're usually better off with them getting less done.
Yeah.
So of course that's not the case with civil rights legislation, but a lot of stuff, is better off it taking a while and making sure we do it right. uh, and weed out a lot of the junk that we can, at least. But yeah, that sounds interesting. I'm trying to remember. I saw another movie about Martin Luther King, and I felt
You
like it
mean
came out
Selma?
right around the same time. And
Selma.
was LBJ in that?
He was briefly.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking. But
Selma
anyway,
was Selma was directed by Ava DuVernay,
hmm
and Tom Wilkinson was LBJ.
interesting. Anyway, so for me, I my last pick is actually The Eyes of Tammy Faye, another biopic. This was from last year. It stars Jessica Chastain and my man Andrew Garfield, who I
That guy
love
was
so much.
everywhere last year.
Yeah, he was. And going into this, I was expecting it to be kind of a smear piece about Tammy Faye. I mean, I knew very little about her aside from the makeup. I hadn't seen the documentary. And I was so surprised going out of it how positive it was towards her. And I thought, oh, it's going to be interesting to see what people say. And I think a lot of people, because Hollywood just so rarely, unless it's specifically a faith based film, is so rarely positive about any religious figures, no matter
Yeah.
what. Like they're always kind of hard on him.
And movies like Doubt or Spotlight, which I love Spotlight, and I haven't seen Doubt, but I've heard good things. But the point I'm trying to get at is that it's rare when they put it in a good light.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of times they sort of portray religious figures as like we're all like the West, the Baptist Church, like we're all like that. The
Pretty much
horrible,
Carrie's mom from Carrie.
right?
They're
Yeah,
all gonna laugh at you.
right. But anyway, I was so surprised to come out of this with somebody that was very sympathetic, that was positive, and that I was not expecting, and I found it moving. I thought it was well done, very well acted. Um, I enjoyed it, but again, it was my introduction to the person. I knew nothing else, and it seems like people that were more familiar with the documentary were maybe a little harder on it. But I thought it was good. I liked it. Good performance, I think, by Jessica Chastain.
Yeah, I liked it too. Garfield is unrecognizable as Jim Baker, like starting
Mhm.
out as like the idealist and going to like the fat cat, if you will, like making a Christian theme park and falling on his butt as a result of it.
Mhm.
And Jessica Chastain, I mean, she's awesome in this too. I mean, her transformation. My
Yeah.
first exposure or any reference to Tammy Faye Baker was in Whose Line Is It Anyway? It was one of the props segments, and there was these like big like palm frond looking things, and one of the actors was like, "Hi, and welcome to Cooking with Tammy Faye," or
Yeah.
mocking her
Yeah. Yeah.
eyebrows, and it was like, "What in the world?" Then I saw her eyebrows in the movie. I'm like, I understood that
Yeah.
reference.
I would love to see it get a hair and makeup nom. I think it
Yeah,
would deserve that. I mean, I nominated Jessica for the awards that I submitted because I enjoyed the performance. But yeah, I think it's definitely was an underappreciated, I think, film from last year.
yeah. If I had to have one thing, it's that I wish this would have been like an HBO miniseries rather than a movie, because I feel
Mhm.
like the Bakers had such incredibly fascinating lives, going from these tent preachers to like these like having their own television channel, like
Yeah.
and making a theme park, to just completely irrelevant and Jim in jail and among other things. And the whole Vincent D'Onofrio side of things taking over PTL and just running that into the ground. There were several times when I was watching the movie where it's like it's going from their preaching intents to now they have their own parish. And it's like, how much time has passed? Like seriously, how long have we been here? And then going from that to, oh,
Mhm.
she's addicted to Vicodin now and like drinking 20 Diet Cokes a day. It's like,
Yeah, they almost could have taken the walk the line approach and just focused on one part as opposed to trying to tell the whole story. I think that usually ends up working better if you're doing a movie, but yeah, I can see a series as well.
yeah, I almost forget that Tammy Faye has children. Like the movie shows
It's
her
true.
kids so little times that when you see them, you're like, wait, those are her kids. Where have they been this whole time?
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, well, what's your last pick?
Well, one more note: someone needs to make a Robert Tilton movie. Stat. But my last choice is a movie from 1997. This was directed by Guillermo del Toro, and it is called Mimic. It tells the story of a team of scientists who have to find, and please don't laugh, but they have to find a cockroach that has gone like completely insane and grown like really big and really scary. And I think I may have lost you, but I
Yeah.
promise the movie is
I hate
actually pretty
cockroaches
good.
so much. They're
It's
so
pretty
gross.
good, I promise you. It go into that because the creature feature like aspect side of things is really well done. I mean, it's Guillermo del Toro, so of course he uses practical effects and they're ooey and gooey, and
I mean, it
it's
has an amazing cast. Mira
molto
Sorvino,
bello.
Jeremy Northam, Josh Brolin, F. Murray Abraham. It's a great cast.
Yeah, there's so I know it sounds weird, but it's the ultimate like don't judge a book by its cover or a movie
Yeah,
by
the
its
poster has a yellow cockroach on it. It's gross.
I assure
But I
you
believe
though
you.
it
I
is good.
love Guillermo del Toro, so I'm sure
And this is one of his first movies, so we're getting like early Del Toro, like
uh-huh.
before Pan's Labyrinth, before way before Shape of Water. So this was him trying to figure his own way into there. Thank you, Toby.
Yes. Yeah, maybe someday we should do a watch along or something. I'll watch it. Even though I hate the sound of the the whole thing when there's a cockroach. It's so gross. That's the only thing I don't like about Hawaii is those stupid cockroaches. They're so gross. But yeah, I mean, what other show could you get such variety in recommendations? I don't know of any. I mean, so let's go over our picks. I have Single Mother by Choice. I have Ron's Gone Wrong. I have Middle. I have Beanie Mania and The Eyes of Tammy Faye.
And I have. Sorry, my phone went to sleep. I have 12 Strong, The Book of Eli, Early Man, All the Way, and Mimic.
Very good. All right. Well, let us know what you've been watching on HBO Max. If you have been watching any of the series or any of the movies, let us know. And make sure you check out if you can handle some mature content, right? And just like that, recaps with my friend Jax, super fun over there. I think you have more fun listening to our recaps than watching the television show, frankly. um, and oh, we got a comment here real quick. It says, if you want to hear my underrated HBO Max films, check out The Tale and Cajillionaire. There you
Tail,
go.
I've never heard of
Yeah.
that.
I was not a big fan of Cajillionaire, but I know a lot of people who loved it. So I think you're not alone there. Yeah. So thanks so much. And Ryan, where can people find you?
They can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd at RyanCam20. Then there's, of course, my YouTube channel, which is just called Ryan Cam. Like I said, I'm at 195 subscribers. I'm literally 5 away from 200. I would like to get to 200, please. And it's going to be amazing when I get there. I brought back my Twilight Zone series. I'm going to be reviewing some Batman stuff in honor of the Batman March 3rd. Rachel's going to be involved in that. We're working on something special for my channel. This coming Sunday, I'm going to be dropping a review for The Adjustment Bureau from 2011, a movie that I've recommended on this show before, and I really love, but nobody talks about. And I'm going to get into that. And then episode 5 of Life in, or actually 4, excuse me, episode 4 of Life in the Movies podcast with Ryan and Jacob. This time we're going to be talking about old Cartoon Network and Boomerang memories. It's so much fun. And then this next Sunday, I'm going to be dropping my first reaction to the Coen Brothers movie Fargo, where literally every person in the movie says yeah in between every sentence. It's like, hey, Margie, what's down there? Yeah.
I love that movie, and I love Margie. I think she's one of the best characters in all film ever. She's so great.
She is like 6 or 7 months pregnant, and I don't hear her complain, not once. Like,
No.
that's like Sherlock Holmes level of commitment right there. And Steve Buscemi and Peter Stormare are either the best or the worst criminals I've ever seen. Probably the worst, or the best worst.
Yeah, yeah, he's great, and I just love her character because she could be seen as stupid, but then she's actually the smartest person in the room in every scene,
Yeah,
which I
she
love
handled
that.
the case pretty much on her own with like little to no help.
Yeah.
Like it's quite good. And then you have William H. Macy, God bless his soul, like talk about like not thinking something through. Like, oh, I'll just kidnap my wife. What could possibly go wrong other than everything going wrong?
Yeah.
You know, when I was watching this movie, I was thinking to myself, oh my God, this is what Michael Bay tried to do with Pain and Gain. I'm a Michael Bay defender, but Pain and Gain is one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. I wanted to just walk out of the theater several times, but I was with my dad and he was my ride. Thank you, Toby. I appreciate you. But my dad was my ride, so I couldn't leave. But Pain and Gain was pretty much a nastier version of Fargo, and I won't spoil it, but it's pretty much that. But that review for Fargo will be dropping not this coming Sunday, but the next Sunday, which will be the 30th. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah. Well, you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes, including every day over at rachelsreviews.net. I'm doing my Sundance logs where I cover everything I've been watching. So make sure you check that out. And also, you can find me at the Hallmarkies podcast. We're having a ton of fun over there. And so, yeah, check it out. And thanks so much, everybody. And yeah, we'll talk to y'all later. Bye, everyone.
Bye.